and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. We are the Dadley Boyz of WhatCulture. I'm Adam Wilborn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to review everything that happened on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review AEW Dynamite, but also AEW Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week complete. A big quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, though, joined by Hamlet and Sidgwick to review last night's Dynamite. The Continental Classic is back, Sidge.
Yeah, it is, yeah. There's going to be a bad news and good news situation here, but pro wrestling fans are obsessed with assigning names of eras to time periods of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Like golden, new gen, attitude, ruthless aggression.
The only one that happened in the moment because nothing was happening.
Yeah.
They tried to label it to make it something.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I had to call this version of AEW anything, it would be the asterisk era.
Ooh.
Because there's always... You have to do the disclaimer of, some of the storyline direction's actually quite compelling. Some of the action was good. There's match graphics in the coming weeks I am looking forward to. Asterisks. It's cold as ice, and the atmosphere sucks. And at this point, if you can't get a proper throb, some pulse in those arenas, you're laughing at. Just thinking about, yeah. If you can't get a real pulse, a real vibe in this arena when you've managed through a late surge in tickets to clear 4,000 in Chicago. That's, by 2024 AEW standards, that's a pretty good house and a pretty hot town traditionally. And you get that atmosphere. Oh boy, it just nukes your investment in so much to follow anticipation-wise. So that kind of sucks, and we're stuck with it. And you see something like, spoiler alert, for Jay White versus Pac next week, and I'm thinking, yeah. But then now, you can't help but think, God, I hope the crowd comes up for that.
Yeah.
It's the last thing you'd ever expect or want for an AEW show when you got those match graphics. Even the match graphics now have got the, more in hope than expectation that the crowd turns up for it. This crowd was really poor. And I don't necessarily think it was a bad card or a bad time. Like, the Continental Classic was rave reviewed last year. That should have bought AEW some proper... Okay, well, the broader problems still exist within AEW, but let's get up for this. The Continental Classic's back. That was good last year, so I don't know what Chicago's problem was. So here's the thing. Bad news, good news, as I outlined. Bad news, this show was flat, despite some strong stuff that I'm actually quite looking forward to putting over to a degree. Good news is that all the noise, what little of it there was, coming out of those tapings last night is that Collision's a belter. And that there's a match involving a certain favorite of the WhatCulture Wrestling podcast that was the loudest all evening.
Well, that's a good sign then. I don't know what that is, but that makes me intrigued at least. 4,000 as well. I didn't realise that's...
I'm fairly certain it was like 3,959.
Chicago, in the Quim Thrust as well.
In the Quim Thrust. They do the Thanksgiving or this time of year episode at the Quim Thrust all the time, don't they? 4,000 feels about what they were at. Like last year, you know what I mean? It just feels like
but the pattern is pretty dreary in that it's getting a little bit incrementally worse each time they revisit a town.
On WrestleTix, in the last 5 days, they'd sold or distributed 1,278 tickets to lead them to last night, at least according to WrestleTix, 3,959.
That's, it's Continental Classic. There must have been enough full gear that convinced some people to go along. The thing about Chicago cuts both ways, doesn't it? Because on one hand, you think, well, they're really dedicated, they're very loyal, and they'll commit, and they'll take a chance on a show where other people might just stay in, especially this time of year. It's a windy city all year round. They're not going to be off by a bit of weather. However, they are as committed as they are discerning. So if you're not really giving them something to get up for, they kind of have the right as this audience that are spoiled.
They're spoiled as well.
And have every access to every show in every kind of venue in that city, where they'll also tell you with their folded arms or their quiet responses if you're not really doing it for them. Yeah. It does. But, Tony Khan has loved it for the good side of that, so then you kind of have to take it for the bad side too, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this show. It is Thanksgiving after all, so with regards to our review, gobble gobble, baby. We start with a November.
You get your own Thanksgiving this weekend, don't you?
Yeah, I love Thanksgiving. And whilst we're at it, God bless you, God bless me.
And God bless the United States.
God bless Layla Hirsch.
Just a funny voice.
It's a button and a bit and a funny voice.
Yeah.
More on the, we're not a bits podcast, but we might have to get into it for Secret Banter this year. I've had a certain email I know you two are aware about that argues the point that we might do bits.
Well, maybe.
Anyway, November Rain recap. Darby Allin nearly dead. Blood all over him, saying it'll be hard for John Moxley to kill AEW when he's the one who dies first. And then Excalibur welcomes us with Tony and Nigel. Some changes to the Continental Classic this year. We talked a little bit about this on the news. I'd like to know your thoughts on it. People barred from ringside, time limit, 3 points, blah, blah, blah. But now, not only at World's End will there be the final, there'll also be the semi-final, which is now taking influence from football, soccer, from
Football.
Sack war.
Football.
Whereby
The EPL.
it's the winners of one league against the runners-up of the other, whereas last year it was the winners and runner-up from the same league going head-to-head and then qualifying for the final at World's End. Thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of maybe a cheat code to a critically acclaimed pay-per-view. Put Will Ospreay on twice, he'll get 10 stars.
It's what I said to him, didn't
It's
I?
the exact
10-star pay-per-view, if anything.
second Ospreay match.
A 12-star pay-per-view.
We didn't even want it that way. It's this is a tournament's a shoot, and it's just worked out.
It just worked out this way. That feels to me good/cynical.
Love a mini tournament on a pay.
I love a mini tournament on a pay-per-view. I mean, it might not draw if historical,
never draw, but
if
I
historical
like
precedent. Yeah, people don't buy those
No, they don't.
pay-per-views. Nah, not me, I like them.
They're good. They're really great one-night stories.
We're
selling-
proper aficionados of the Deadly Game and the King of the Ring 93.
Yeah. Is that when we talk about the Hitman taught us to understand wrestling, he taught us to understand tournament wrestling because his one-nighter is like,
Aye.
well, that's how you do it then. Ospreay can do that. How good's that going to be?
It really is one of those, like bookers have certain things, and we go, why are you doing that? Why are you pushing this person? And it's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
The three of us are always like, tournaments, if we were do a tournament on it, they'd be like, no, it never draws. Why not? It's great.
It's the children that are wrong.
Yeah.
Like Carter versus Darby at World's End. That could be tasty.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't factored that in my brain, yeah.
The overlaps. The
Get in
overlaps in the semis.
I was thinking, would I book Ospreay versus Fletcher, and then Ospreay versus Okada?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Ospreay Fletcher, Okada Darby, Ospreay Okada.
I mean,
It's a good final thought.
anyway, but should we get into the
show that we're reviewing?
The show itself, yeah. Syndicate come out. MVP's got an official announcement. He's standing in Chicago, appropriately, standing between two of the finest to ever grace a wrestling ring. He compares Shelton and Bobby Lashley to Walter Payton and Michael Jordan.
Whoa! Hang on. Walter Payton, star of SummerSlam 1994, and Michael Jordan, I understand, was on a Netflix documentary.
He's in Space Jam, I think
you'll
you'll
put
find.
some respect on those names. Sweetness, Walter Payton, drilling Sean in the face.
I don't know much about Payton.
They said he was very good at that at SummerSlam 94, and he was pretty awesome in that role.
If I've got one minor criticism of this otherwise excellent promo from MVP, I would refer to Benjamin as the Scottie Pippen. As the one who, could plant a little bit of very, very, very early foreshadowing of Shelton being resentful of Lashley. But then he could also portray it by referring to him as Scottie Pippen as the guy who kind of makes Lashley in a pretty great wrestler in his own right, but never really gets enough credit for it. So take notes. The best talker in wrestling right now.
That's it. I guess Payton was a goat, wasn't he? So I guess I've got all the best.
Yeah.
I got two best.
Oh yeah, both good.
But
routes.
I do like that.
Both good routes.
I like that.
He talks about Hurt Syndicate teaching lessons. When MVP offers you a business card, it's a golden ticket. You can change your life for the better if you're smart, or if you're stupid like Swerve Strickland, you can turn into trouble. He talks about Bobby Lashley beating the snot out of Strickland and showcases that with footage. It says Strickland isn't the most dangerous man in AEW. Bobby Lashley is. He is the walking Armageddon. Love that.
TNA nickname on it.
Their mission statement is to take championship titles and leverage them to more money and power. They are merchants of misery, and tonight Benjamin will show what we're capable of. They're the best in the industry at hurting people.
A little bit too much in the way of alliteration, but that's pro wrestling for you. just incredible delivery yet again. You believe that MVP believes that he has got the hottest act in the entire game and he's just guaranteed to win titles, and he would be really furious if he didn't get them very soon. Just world-class verbal performance from MVP yet again. This scanned to me like the promo he should have cut a few weeks ago. Because he said very similar things about the golden ticket and that mission statement. Maybe it was just a little bit of a, like you're encroaching on the Death Riders territory with this elevating new talent stuff. Have a different identity, go out. It's all about championships now. A bit of a redo. I enjoyed this immensely.
There is a video that I'm very excited to go out on the channel in the next couple of days. Not our podcast channel, the main WhatCulture channel.
Yeah, we're helping them out.
That is based on a must-read Sidgwick joint. It's currently available at whatculture.com/WWE, where we talk about problems and solutions one by one. And in that, I kind of argue, I don't push back against the just greedy sign-up, but I kind of suggest a system in which whoever you're bringing in, you've then got to replace. So if we're doing, let's say, 1 for 3.
Yeah, one person in, 3 people out.
Here is an example of 3 that have come in and made this feel fresh and exciting and different, and 9 have to go. And I don't mean have to go and cut the contracts.
No.
Like, what if 9 wrestlers suddenly had somewhere else to go do something where they themselves can become interesting again because it's been worthwhile signing 3 figures.
Hell yeah.
That's the case here. These 3, it's not just that they feel brand new; it's that they are. And that is obviously MVP's promo is incredible, and there's very little to add at this point. The Hurt Syndicate is this cool act, but it's their newness and their sense of danger that I think is putting them above the Death Riders, because there's a sort of unknown element to this Hurt Syndicate. The Death Riders are almost asking you to buy these existing characters all over again. Don't have that. There's no stink at all. Like, they're box fresh and they're kicking ass with it, and that's the benefit of the signings, even when it feels like it's one too many.
Yeah.
We got the match. Well, actually, sorry, before we got the match, we got a Mark Briscoe, Bobby Lashley stare down.
Oh my God.
Yes, please.
Yep, I have that.
I like seeing big stars face off against each other, if only for a second. This is good copying of homework, I think. Yeah. Show me it for a second.
I knew they were on the roster, and then when it happened in front of me, I was like, that looks like a thumbnail someone's made up.
Yeah.
Mark Briscoe staring down Bobby Lashley. What? Right, so but then Briscoe gets into it with Shelton Benjamin, tries to fire up the crowd, but Benjamin takes overhead suplex, drives Briscoe into the steps, wants a count out, but Briscoe recovers. There's a somersault dive from Briscoe. He gets hit with a superplex, though, by Benjamin, who springs up to his feet as we go to a break. Benjamin's still in control when we come back. Briscoe starts firing up, though. Hits him with some palm strikes, chops, rolling Death Valley driver, hits the froggy bow, but clutches his own ribs in the process. Benjamin rolls the outside. Briscoe hits another elbow from the apron, wants a third, but Benjamin gets the knees up and hits a series of German suplexes, chucking him all hour.
Oh, right in his goddamn head.
Benjamin avoids the J Driller, hits the rewind kick, the step-up corner knee, and a monster thrust kick for 2. Hit another one flush and hits the T-bone suplex and gets the 1, 2, 3. The Hurt Syndicate celebrate afterwards. Shelton Benjamin on the board in the Continental Classic.
Yeah. A bit of an elongated squash. They're trying with there's a comparison I was going to make. With Benjamin's athletic background and his collegiate wrestling pedigree, they kind of go, and his just completely incredible physique, they're kind of going for a upper mid-card Lesnar vibe with him. The vibe can't exist because, arsehole of a bloke, obviously, but Lesnar's aura is just completely inimitable. But that's what they're going for at times, because he doesn't have that magnetic quality where you're watching just going, go easy on your opponent. This is getting a little bit too violent. For this realm of pro wrestling that I participate in, because there's a degree of violence I can stomach, and it's pro wrestling. It didn't step over that line and make you think, God, is he shooting, or is this well advised? Structurally, that's what they're going for. They approached it with those neck first Germans. They look disgusting. The thrust kicks look great. It's a little bit of flab or just down periods where I kind of get the point of what you're going for. And then come back, everything happened in the right order, which sounds like I'm pissing on it. I'm not. I'm just saying that Shelton is either not there yet or will never get there to elicit that exact sort of dread. But, when it sparked into life, you can't deny the commitment it did physically because it was pretty awesome towards the end there.
Theme of the night for me, that. And this match, maybe the best example of it, because I would say, for my personal feelings, the highs in this were the highest I felt across the Continental Classic on this show. But all the matches were a little bit guilty of, in the effort to, I think, probably advertise and sort of promote the spirit of competitiveness, that back and forth thing, or that feeling that like what are we doing here? We could be headed towards a finish here if you really wanted, but instead we're kind of, there was a sense that they were dragging things out, but I understand why. I think you can't, you do put squashes in tournaments, or you do put shock wins and flash pins and stuff like that, but there's times and places, and probably night one it would feel a bit obvious maybe. Yeah. And none of the matches were necessarily laid out to do that. So I did find my sort of attention waning a little bit in places, but Shelton's stuff was very good at snapping you back into it in that split second, which is what they're trying for.
Just be honest, mate.
Didn't pull up any trees, did it?
Nah.
Truthfully. I'm no less interested in the Hurt Syndicate, but I've kind of had this I don't think they're ever going to get what they truly want out of a Shelton Benjamin, and it's nobody's fault.
Yeah. No. It's one of those where this probably wasn't your best shot at that opening salvo of setting the tone. You're in for maybe a proper shock result or this unbelievable match. Here's the tone set. This probably would have functioned better as a week 2, 3, 4 of Christ. They're keeping Sheltonman. A
Sheltonman's 3.
A Sheltonman's 3. You'd think on week 2 or week 3, well, they're keeping Shelton strong, and you'd think, oh Christ, he's still in the mix with another tidy performance where the best stuff looks good enough. Not the opening shot I would have fired here.
Unless they are, maybe this is just wishful thinking from me, trying to think, let's get early on in this an established bit of Shelton wins, dominant victory over Mark Briscoe, and on the same card, Ricochet loses, and maybe starts thinking,
yeah,
hang on 1 second, and that could be the story of the tournament, perhaps.
If MVP, if you think about the words of the promo, about what it means to get that card, and there's a very specific point he made about, which we'll get to later, about the a certain thing about Swerve, every single card kind of featured outside of, I think, Leo Rush on this Dynamite.
Yeah.
So it felt like they were leaning in quite hard to bringing that story up across the night.
Yeah.
And perhaps no coincidence that what followed was the TBS champion. You're pitching her to
absolutely, I am, yeah.
Mercedes
Money.
She's out.
Makes it rain with her fingers.
She's out with
the Rainmaker.
Camille with her arm in a sling, and she says, Chicago, say hello to your CEO.
Why did she pronounce Chicago with an O at the end?
Because everyone knows it's Chicago.
Chicago.
Very good, thank you.
That's accurate now.
Tony says that you turned the wrestling world on its head after beating Chris Statlander at Full Gear. Longest women's match. Many consider it the women's match of the year. Mone says it felt good. Look, Statlander's one of the best, but I'm the greatest TBS champion of all time. But Camille sucks, basically. She can't get anything right. She's about to fire her, but Camille cuts her off, shuts her up, and says, are you still there? Are you dumb? You can't fire me. I quit. And she storms off, and Mone flips out as the crowd chants, you deserve it.
This was well overdue. The actor stunk. It has lowered Mercedes Money's stock even further than it was. This feels like one of those pro wrestling things of, oh, now that bit's gone, guys, get behind it. Yeah. And I think this babyface-esque, you can't fire me, I quit, was just a very Tony Khan way of just removing her from the act and potentially mainline programming for a long-ass time with a little bit of dignity. What's next for Camille? I don't know. Don't necessarily want to see it because she's not been very good at all. The thing is as well, if you want someone who is going to you can't really book to lose, otherwise you completely destroy that which they have about them. You've already got Marina Shafir. I don't know when she gets in the mix in the ring.
Yeah.
But you've already got that character. Camille ain't good. Try her on Ring of Honor. Why not? I mean, I won't watch it, but still.
Yeah.
What's Camille's deal?
That's a talk show. Sorted. That's good. Yeah. Again, to go back to MVP, he said you can make good decisions or you can make stupid ones. And there's
Are you stupid or are you dumb?
being stupid factored into this. And before, like, Camille was like, you can't fire me anymore. It was all about Mercedes about to make the good decision rather than the stupid one. So, like, I think that's the direction.
Sling your hook.
When she said that.
All right, okay.
And then she links up with Hook.
Shut up, man. Don't NXT this podcast,
Right.
please.
Yeah, it's got to be her and the Syndicate, and literally the second they appeared on screen together, it was like, oh my god, I feel alive again.
Yeah,
watching one of my
yeah.
favorite wrestlers of all time actually be good at something. Like, so surely you're putting them together.
Speaking of the stars of AEW, we got a video package of Big Boom AJ.
He brings the boom.
Every time he's on camera,
Just touch your face.
the double finger.
Yeah, Big Justice.
My James keeps doing the Rizzler.
Jack James has got Riz. He's got to say something for somebody else at
I
school.
know.
Like, he's baby-faced freak of the school.
I know.
Like, that's it. Oh my god, he's a freak of the school. Guess what, Dad?
He's going to bring the boom to me.
Fixing the family name.
Yeah, all the Big Boom Costco guy stuff from Full Gear.
He's coming back, isn't he?
hope so.
Something else down the line. They're
His
gonna.
foot's broken, so it'll take a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it 8 weeks, I think they said? Okay.
Sounds like a metatarsal, that.
Oof.
It's burned into the brains of all worried England fans.
Yeah.
And they printed his foot on the front page
Yeah,
of the Sun,
yeah,
and
yeah.
everyone touch it.
Do that on TikTok now with Big Boom AJ's foot. Please bring the boom back to AEW.
I want them to like really sort of build it, like lights off, it rains, double chocolate cookies, and it's coming.
House of Boom.
That's gonna be amazing.
Carry on with.
Malachi Black.
I'll put him anywhere near it.
A double chunk choc cookie. It controls all our fate.
Shut my dick number.
She's sucking his dick, no, I'm not.
Come on, we're going to Costco.
Peaches, $2.
Yeah, they don't print a tax on the price. That's where they get you.
And then it was time for the ROH World Title match. Chris Jericho versus Tomohiro Ishii with Big Bill on commentary. He gave Tony a sapling tree with the hope it would grow over time. Tony just looked at it.
It's shoot tree stuff. There's always been so much tree stuff.
I know.
Jericho doesn't know any other way, does
Nah.
it? Go, well, where's the tree bit? Yeah, but you came up with the character. It's a symbol for that you're a teacher. Yeah, but tree.
Sorry, love. You're going to have to shut down the business. Not the festive period. I know. We'd sold, tomatoes. The freshest tomatoes you've ever seen. Goo. But I stupidly invested all this money in sapling trees. Shut the shutters.
Hi, guys. I'll take them all.
I'd really like people to just start getting presented with trees every time. And do this.
It's like CM Punk and the Starbucks cards. Oh, Jericho's giving one of his bloody trees. What am I going to do with this?
That's MVP business cards thing's getting over. I might give out trees.
You make a decision when Chris Jericho gives you a tree. You either lose to him or you leave the company.
Leaf the company. Branch out or leaf. There we go.
Oh, that's the stuff.
It isn't the stuff.
Sorry, yeah, the world titles on
Nothing
the
to stuff, Anthony.
world titles on the line. I should get to that. They chop loads. That's the start of the match, and throughout the match, basically, they fight to the apron. Jericho spiked Ishii with a DDT on the apron, which I didn't think would have any effect, to be perfectly honest, on Ishii, but it did. Jericho slap battle when they get back in, but that fires up Tomohiro Ishii. Jericho's busted open. He's bleeding from the mouth. as we go.
Ishii's face, you should mention as well.
Yes.
Did he get like a little puffy eye? Because, Jesus Christ, he looked like he'd been in a bit of a horror show.
Lobbing bombs was the match, wasn't it?
Yeah, when we come back, slaps, chops, all that good stuff. They go to the ropes, go up there. Jericho hits a superplex, but Ishii just pops right back up. Jericho wanted a Judas effect, but Ishii hits him with a lariat. At the same time, they both go down. They slowly get up. Fireman's carry into a lion salt from Jericho for 2. Hits a Judas effect and a code breaker. Ishii kicks out a 1. Stumbles to his feet. Kicked away from the walls of Jericho. Hit a charging, tackling headbutt for a 2 count. He goes for the sliding D. The Jericho managed to avoid it. Ishii hit a code breaker and a lariat of his own. Wanted his finish, but Jericho hit 2 more Judas effects to get the 1, 2, 3 and retain the ROH World title.
Yeah, I mean, this is nowhere near as good as that late 2022 match. Like, nowhere near.
Same building?
Same building. I
felt bad because they kept referencing it, and I was thinking the same.
It's not. It's when you are copying the homework from the last really good in-ring year of your career, and it's just not as good.
And your tit isn't bleeding.
Oh, bleed your tit, moron. It just felt like closer to the absolute end of that man's in-ring legacy that he can't really do this anymore. And they put themselves through hell, and for what? Like a really minimal reaction. So yeah, the story of the match was basically chop, 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 chop. Then Jericho was like, I'm kind of losing this, so I'll do some moves to him. And then Ishii was like, well, I don't really get affected by this either because I'm just so pumped up, full of adrenaline. It's like, right, we'll do 3 finishes and then you're out. That was the basic gist. In terms of what I felt for all of that, it's a bit like you got a box of matches. Not my best analogy of this, and you get one of the matchsticks out, and you, for whatever reason, it's a bit pesky, getting it to strike. So this one, it was like, when you get that feeling where you can almost feel the match snap off the box. It's like, just come on, get it. It's a birthday cake here that I need it. Then spark, and that was just, and then it. I got the odd little bit of that Ishii energy where it's like, this is a wrestler who, at his very best, has made me lose my mind when it's like, how have you got up? He always picks that moment. He's the best when to do it wrestler possibly ever of, oh my God, he's killed him.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it didn't affect him, actually. The code breaker the code breaker kick out at 1, you maybe got that. But again, it's just that matchstick spark, not like this fire of Ishii. At times, this looked genuinely quite like bleak of, oh God, they look like you ever seen the film Kingpin?
Yeah.
When they're bowling and the hair's going everywhere and they look absolutely pagged. That was the wrestling match version of this.
Yeah, the fans felt as if, I don't want to speak for them as a total collective, but just trying to gauge the audience in this one, felt like they were sitting waiting for a finish.
That's a WWE crowd thing, and it's infested AEW.
And that's it. And I think the thing about when you get it in a WWE crowd, it's at least right now, it's often because
the finishes are hard.
They really like the finishes. So they've come to see the characters do their big spot, their big moment, you know? And like, it wasn't even for that reason, was it? You were just like, well, the end's going to have a consequence. One of them's going to be the Ring of Honor champion, and there's going to be a 1, 2, 3.
Who could possibly care?
Yeah, and I think that's when they were sat waiting for that, and then what that is not even that thrilling. I was really, really struck here, and I don't know why it's this week more than any other week. This was like, at its best, and there were only like fleeting moments, just about fine. Like, at its absolute best, this was just about fine in places. All those caveats and qualifiers is to say, that's Chris Jericho's peak, and yet he remains a weekly television figure. I was boring myself complaining about Chris Jericho being on television, and this was the week where I was like, oh, and when you don't complain about it, you realise what's been accepted in Chris Jericho's weekly TV. That's insane.
I know.
I'm not age shaming him when I say this, but a 50-plus-year-old wrestler who cannot offer anything remotely close to his best, he's not going out there being Terry Funk. Like, very few can.
He had his Terry Funk year in 2022, realistically, now that we think about it.
It is insane, the television time he takes.
Yeah.
Like, anyone.
They cannot resign him.
This is like...
Imagine, I would love to know how much time he's taken up, just on Dynamite, let's say, this year.
Yeah.
Be fascinating to know
and what it's accomplished. Where's Hook?
Draw that up against every women's match.
It's one thing. I made the point, and many people have made it because it happened with Ricky Starks, and it was, that's a Jericho formula. If he's lost, it makes no sense in the narrative why this rub, which you can argue, like, you do a good job to argue in favor of it at this point, but even if it's like, right, yeah, he gives the guy the rub, but if narratively, it makes no sense that Jericho's losing all the time because he's just stigmatized as a loser who beating whom means increasingly nothing, little to nothing, and then, all right, well, Ricky Starks beat him at Revolution 2023, and he's in the Battle Royal, and Chris Jericho gets a 20-minute match at Double or Nothing against Adam Cole, which sucks as well. It's just...
He's a 52-week-a-year character.
Yeah, and there's in it...
That is insane. Really stop and think about it.
He is the 50 to 52-week-a-year character in the company with a rotating cast. Rotate him out for friggin' once.
In theory, next week, I have to sit here and ask you two, who's next for Chris Jericho for that exact reason? And you would react to me like me saying to you... Well, when we do the Ring of Honor podcast, I'll come in the studio, but until then...
But
you'd react to me like me saying to you... Do you think these crazy kids will get together on NXT, basically?
But, like, put it this way, it was bad enough that Hook, after beating Jericho at All In, either didn't get a match at All Out or Wrestle Dream, or both.
Yeah.
Well, he's disappeared off the face of the planet. Yes, I understand that maybe the Luchasaurus stuff has complicated things, or I don't know really what's going on with Hook, or Dr. Britt Baker for that matter. There's never any explanation for why these characters disappear. But, like, why did Hook win that feud with Jericho? Should he not be the Ring of Honor champion? Should he have not got shots for that? It's a joke. Some of the booking here is a joke. They cannot re-sign him. They will, but they shouldn't. They really shouldn't.
Renee Paquette is backstage with Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana. They say rebuilding is something they do very well. He's never been hit by anyone as hard as Bobby Lashley. And then Max Caster walks past, chuckling away to himself. Swerve's like, what's so funny, Max? And Max is like, oh, not sure if you remember, but Shikiage is where I pinned you to win the tag titles. Calls himself the best wrestler alive. Says, hey, Swerve, you're a house of fire. House of fire, house of fire. Your house on fire. Swerve snaps, chucks Caster against the wall, kicks him in the ribs. Nana's like, leave it, Swerve, he's not worth it. Max Caster's a dickhead.
This is my favourite thing on the whole show, right? I love this. This was Swerve Strickland for a start, summoning Shawn Michaels, Eddie Thorpe energy when he just thrust him against the wall and battered him. He is levels above Max Caster. That's what you do in a beatdown, even if you're building to a match, right? Right now, different postcodes, mate. But MVP used the words earlier on, Swerve Strickland turned into trouble with Bobby Lashley, and he did exactly that here, literally. Like, wait, what was that? Like, like the Max Caster, say that again? So he's turned into trouble when they've kind of already kind of outlined that Max Caster could be one to join the Hurt Syndicate here, which he could, or it could be Anthony Bones is a bit of who knows? But like certainly at the moment they're leading you to believe that Max Caster is going to be a Hurt Syndicate pickup, and he's going right into a feud with Swerve. That's quite neat and tidy. We were talking about this over desk the other day. I am becoming increasingly convinced that Max Caster might be an answer to one of AEW's massive problems. In a work rate heavy company, it's really hard for heels that can to get over as heels. The Hurt Syndicate are experiencing it right now because people are appreciating MVP's words and they're appreciating Shelton and Bobby's work. So how long can they realistically stay heels? Same for the Death Riders, same for MJF at one point or another. Mm-hmm. Kyle Fletcher might run into that trouble very, very soon when a tournament exists to exhibit the best of the wrestling. Well, that's not a Max Caster problem, is it? Like, they might have on their hands here, and I know this comparison doesn't sit well with everybody, but it's a compliment from me in the right context. They might have themselves a Miz. They might have themselves a guy that just simply goes out there to be disliked. And this promo, I thought, was a great exhibition for that.
He's got no stock in him whatsoever. He's obviously going to turn heel. I feel like he would get in his own way at some point, as he kind of always does. But we'll see.
That's kind of part of what made a lot of people dislike him, even within the confines of a beloved act. Yeah.
Just, what's this? Just a real dick move.
A proper, like, goody and baddie stuff, isn't it? Like, get him. Kick his head.
Kick him in the ribs, yeah. Which is not exactly a baby. Kick him again, actually, Swerve. No, let him have one more. Anyway, Tony Schiavone introduces Hangman Adam Page to the ring. Gallagher tells us Orange Cassidy not medically cleared following, obviously, Full Gear.
I forgot they made him like drink bleach or whatever. Moxley loves a weird.
I completely forgot about that.
I totally forgot that. He's a bit weird, Moxley. Isn't he? Like,
yeah, there's too much crime. There are too many jailable offences. Sorry, Miller, I know you love it. Well, I don't, Doug. Keep that for the Fed. Like, they should be getting fined for things like this, shouldn't they? Yeah. If there's no police intervention, which they're, Attitude Era and beyond aside, very little. It's just sort of one of the plot holes even I can just accept. Fine, you guys.
It's wrestling, isn't it? It's like, you'd made him drink bleach, yeah, but it was after the bell. We can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's a tie. That's out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah. Yes, international waters, basically. So Schiavone brings up Paige, of course, losing again to Jay White, and then the Christopher Daniels attack and Christian Cage and the world title stuff. Paige says, if Daniels ever gets in my way again, I won't back up.
That match should go 20 seconds.
So funny as well, isn't it?
20 seconds. If Christopher Daniels does a move on Hangman Page, even if Hangman Page has, lost it and he's left himself vulnerable because he's suffered complete head loss so he can get rolled up, I don't even want to see that.
It's just funny that like the booking has made him just incompetent, and now they're kind of like outright saying it. He's just pushed him to the ground. Any fine, any punishment? Maybe a match in which he gets his ass kicked. Like, what next week for Daniels? He puts the shirt and tie back on and he tries to like...
If Christopher Daniels and Matt Hardy were on a tag team, it would be called Arthritis Worldwide. Don't need to see them.
That is excellent.
That is brilliant. Paige, though, said he kept to his end of the deal at Full Gear. He would have been home for Thanksgiving. The AEW World Champion for Christian Cage.
I myself there. Can't get the arms like the guy. But two in the middle. Well done.
All gout.
The gout runners.
I'm thinking of
the gout runners are for the creeks and the sick wrestlers.
Yeah, he said he'd be.
Have you not got gout?
That's a good question.
I've earned it over these years.
Is it like it's like very sugar heavy diet?
Yeah. That's why I'm going to learn to cook after 40, because if I've made it this far without gout, it's like, I'm just escaping it. I've got to spend the next 40 years running away from it.
I
always liked it when Raven would sell that in ECW. I can't wrestle tonight, I've got the gout. Yeah. World champion. My gout's playing up.
It sounds like something from the old, the olden times. Gout, doesn't it? Gangrene and stuff like that. I've got gout.
Trench foot.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, I've had gout before.
We don't do bits. Christian Cage failed. That world title should never been Swerve's or Danielson's or Moxley's. It's always been his, he says. Out comes Switchblade Jay White, who says, you forgot what happened in Wrestle Dream in Full Gear? You lost to us and you got no f***ing mate.
Different country.
Yeah! I love it.
We allow New Zealand in.
Yeah. If anyone deserves a shot at the world title, it should be him. And if Paige wants another reminder, he'll happily hand it out to him. But Pac appears behind Jay White, sweeps his leg, chucks him into the barricade. Yuta hits the ring and attacks Paige. White sort of unintentionally makes the save for Paige because he goes after Pac and Yuta. Marina Shafir comes in and nails Paige with the briefcase that holds the world title. White recovered, though, teased a Blade Runner on Marina Shafir. The crowd woke up for that one. But John Moxley showed up and choked out Jay White. Shafir hit a judo throw and put her mother's milk submission on. White goes out. The Death Riders stick the boots to him. And Pat cracks him with a briefcase as they remind us. I think here, but at least we know by the end of the show that these two are going to be facing each other next week.
Look, it's going to be a four-way, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It's going to be a four-way main eventing World's End. I think that it's going to be one of those deals where this is Tony Khan being mad scientisty. Because if you think about it, you've got Paige and Moxley who are so freaking great at brawling, and there's going to be all this chaos. If you could have literally any two wrestlers in the world in a multi-man scenario, playing spoiler, trying to sneak that win with their expert, use of strategy and their sneaky rat quality and their ring positioning. It would be both Jay White and Christian Cage, who the final scene at Full Gear would indicate are going to be in this match. That's like, it'll be revealed in the last 5 minutes of this 4-way. That's why they went with this. Because Christian Cage and Jay White, between them, could probably get, I would say, 12, like, actual heart-stopping, that's the finish, near falls. So the match is probably going to be justified by how loud and dramatic it's going to get on that basis. However, the storyline has a lot of heels or wrestlers who still kind of do a lot of heel cut-offy offense and have that sort of cocky demeanor that Jay White does. It's kind of giving the latter dying death rattle of Triple H's NXT. Like, there's not a hero really in this program at all, and I can't really emotionally invest in it as a result. And I'm now bargaining with myself, as I've just done, that match could be brilliant.
Do you think?
And I'm sorry in advance, when this 4-way gets fleshed out, all but confirmed, I will say the exact same thing about them two being in it.
Do you think it'll be the semi-main and the World's End main event will actually be the CT final?
It should be.
And a 4-way title match is that
do
like Tony Khan brain of, that's all right, it's a 4-way.
1-2 semi-final, 1-2 semi-final, final at the end.
Yeah, so that's like a 4-way. We've had like multi-man title matches that have not headlined pairs.
Yeah,
so like a bit of history of that, isn't there?
He has been more often a staunch traditionalist with that world title, even though it's not a tradition. There's been exceptions proving that rule.
Double or Nothing 2021.
Yeah.
Revolution 2024.
Double or Nothing tends to do it every year.
Triple threat at Revolution, wasn't it, as well? A 3-way.
Yeah.
Again, on the underneath the main event. So,
but it's funny how it goes, the world title more often than not will headlines. That's great. What about the women's world title? That's a world title. It's just the birds.
Notable that Hangman called it the men's, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's an elevation.
That's him. That's
elevation by inclusion, isn't it?
That's Hangman Page being Hangman Page. That's not a canonical thing. It's just him being a cool dude,
being a good guy. Is Christian Cage going to be sort of?
They never call it the men's world title in canon. It's just Page being a good guy
and trying to elevate. Yeah, is Christian Cage going to be tricked into allowing this to be his contract match? Like, is Page going to say, "Well, we're still a team. I'll get you the belt in this 4-way," and that's how
the last thing,
because they want that off him while Moxley.
The last thing. This Moxley, we're going to reset AEW and it's going to be wrestling and it's going to be very severe, great wrestling needs, is him being embroiled in some kind of briefcase cash-in gimmick.
They want it gone, don't they? So that's maybe how Cage's route into this match is.
Yeah.
I'll enter it, but only because Hangman's going to help me win it. And then on the night,
Claudio made his entrance following this through the crowd for his Continental Classic match, and they showed a video package featuring the Death Riders riding around in the desert with flames and what have you for the World's End pay-per-view that comes our way at the end of December 28th.
Yeah.
And then it was time for Claudio versus Ricochet, Gold League Continental Classic, of course. Claudio, power game, early advantage, naturally. Eats a Hurricane Rana from Ricochet, though. Blocks the second one. Tried a choke slam, but Ricochet catches him. Castagnoli has to regroup outside. Ricochet does the Spider-Man flip and pose, and Claudio just catches a dive and dropped him throat first onto the barricade. They fight out there for a bit as we go to a break. When we come back, Ricochet hits a dive through the ropes, goes up top, back inside. Again, Castagnoli catches him into a backbreaker and a big boot for 2. He wants the pop-up uppercut, but Ricochet, lovely spot this, stands on his chest and backflips into a round-the-world head scissors and another dive over the top onto the floor.
Oh, my God.
It's been shared everywhere, of course, today, that. Springboard clothesline back inside. Lion salt for a near fall. Ricochet tries a springboard off the second rope, but Castagnoli just takes his head off with an uppercut in midair. There's a sharpshooter into a crossface. He wants the Ricola bomb. Ricochet rolls through to get a 2 count. So Claudio chucks him to the floor, into the barricade. He wants a count out. Ricochet just breaks the count, but Claudio just nails him with that big lariat of his to get the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, this match, Ricochet wrestles in exactly the same way as WWE Ricochet did. And all the while, the rap was, why can't they just let him be Ricochet? Maybe they tried, and he just wasn't Ricochet anymore. I mean, he's in the promotion that does, yes, expressly encourages wrestlers to go faster, harder, try more, don't care if it's TV. That's wrestling forward. That's what we do. So why isn't Ricochet doing it? Maybe it's a Ricochet problem and it wasn't necessarily a main roster problem. It was a bit of both back then. Either way, TLDR, Ricochet isn't the same anymore. And not only is he not as good as he once was, but you could argue that Ospreay now is better than he ever was. Fletcher, I don't know, Ricochet in 2010 was a phenomenal. Like, I don't really want to erase that just to make a point. Certainly, Ospreay is better than Ricochet ever was, I think. It's just there's a lot going against this Ricochet run, including this fan base and that chant. If you haven't watched Dynamite, and increasingly I get the feeling that a lot of people have kind of dropped out and maybe catch up with these podcasts. What the otherwise impeccable Wilborn didn't really do was reference the various chants about both Ricochet and Claudio being bald, like bald forever. What?
You are bold.
You are bold. Yeah. That kind of
Tony
stuff.
Khan tweeted justified bold forever chants.
Yeah. So basically, the crowd being quite obnoxious didn't really react to this wrestling match because increasingly AEW fans don't. That's a problem when it's where the best wrestle.
They were bored, weren't they?
They were kind of
doing that unless you kind of
they were kind of,
half in, half out.
There was an element of boredom, but it's the default setting now. I don't think much of the work here, but I thought it was a bit unfair, really, especially in the form Claudio's been in. Claudio looked pissed off.
He did. He was beach ball pissed, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was beach ball pissed. He's got a unmistakable, I don't want to call it boo-boo face, because it's almost like you invented that. I know you didn't, but that's your trivializing sort of quality. He looked very, very, very pissed. Like, come on, dickhead. Like, I'm trying to put on a show here and put my body on the line, all those things. It was the first of two matches where one performer was like, F off Chicago, F off. The other one follows imminently. And it just really took anything that could have been. Look, this was a 2019 Raw match with a promising graphic where you're like, it's just going to be, you might look at the wrestlers and the pedigree and the talent on the graphic, but you're not thinking about the whole pie, Jenny. You're not thinking about what that looks like in the ring. You're looking at, for whatever reason, the quality just not being there and the crowd not giving a toss. This was, you said it, this had the vibe of one of those late 2010s, let's just, give some fish to the seals. Just because they don't complain as much with some work rate. And that's kind of what it was like in sort of work and in terms of reaction. I had a pretty bleak time with this. Fair play to Claudio. They didn't deserve this, I don't think. And he looked pissed off, as he should have been.
You're hoping they were going to go more sort of ball to the wall?
Shut up, man. I don't think this match stood a chance of being this, like, one of the many TV classics AEW has done over the years.
No.
But it had less than that chance after the reaction it got.
It's so I'll do the positive first. I haven't got much else to say about the match. The booking of Ricochet presumably joining the Hurt Syndicate off the back of a series of defeats is good booking. That's how a character should make changes.
I'll put him in a tag team. I would put him in a tag team.
Just going to say that, right? I think you are solving two small problems if you put him and Shelton Benjamin together as a permanent tag team. Power guy, hot tag guy. Ricochet's done that twice in recent memory with both Powerhouse Hobbs and Braun Strowman, and it's instantly worked. Day one, well, this is great. Yeah. This makes sense. So, how do you make Ricochet? Well, you hide him in a hot tag, and that's how you do it instead. Well, problem solved. How do you keep Shelton the power guy without kind of getting a bit bored? Well, you put him in a tag team with Ricochet for a hot tag. Bingo, right? Yeah. So straight away, that's not just a fix.
They complement one another.
Yeah, it's not just a fix. It's a direction, I think. Yeah. I think you're being shown that. So kind of no problem. But the Continental Classic on this evidence is not going to be the... And it was hoping against hope anyway, but it wasn't going to be Ricochet's last chance to show out as a singles guy. Probably not going to be that. It's going to be a series of defeats that makes him realise he needs a bit of help. There was a point in the match where I really think the fans lost it, and it was a move. There was I don't know if he stumbled or something. There was a dive where it was like the reverse Darby Allin.
Okay.
There was a reverse Darby Allin where he started walking backwards while he was propelling himself forward, which I think
he was holding it back, knowing he was going to get caught,
catch, right?
And the catch didn't work.
So if you watch, right, he didn't get caught, but because they're pros, they don't repeat the spot. They get in the ring, and Ricochet's obviously gone, catch me off a jump instead. And that's when they've done the catch spot, because it's all about Claudio taking over in that moment. So they've lost what would have been a pretty cool, my God, he's a strong guy. That's how he counters Ricochet, because and that was probably a big narrative marker that they then lost. And that was kind of when the fans were like, and I don't think they've gone UF'd up. They've gone, that was kind of trash. Bald guys. And it was, and that says a lot because it's like that's them responding to the wrestling not being the wrestling that the match graphic theoretically promises. It was a skate ramp Raw era match playing out in front of you.
The last thing I need on AEW programming when I don't need crowds that suck this much ace. I really don't. If they can, like, the emotional investment's not the same, the level of detail, the invincibility, if all that's gone, I don't want to get nostalgic for 2023, right? Which was not a good year at all. Kenny Omega versus El Hijo del Vikingo happened in 2023. That feels like friggin' 80s Puerto Rico, man.
Chicago.
In terms of heat compared to this.
Chicago finds itself in quite a strange spot at the moment, doesn't it? Because they're like doing these really, really hot all-state shows. They're just happy with Punk wherever he lives, seemingly. But there is a massive, deep-rooted part of AEW's history in this city, and there always will be. Pro wrestling tees, all in.
Khan loves these traditions as well.
Yeah, Tony Khan is of Paradise, Illinois?
Champagne.
Sorry, Paradise is Vegas, sorry. So like there is always going to be law in this city in AEW, but it's a bit like the Garden getting sick of WWE in the 90s, isn't it?
Yeah.
No longer selling out. It's no longer your safe haven, that kind of thing. Like there's an expectation that comes with it, and when they're all going to the All-State and feeling pleased enough with what WWE is offering, it's like, we want to be pleased with this too, and they're not getting it, and then they're going to turn their backs and be difficult rather than just blindly loyal.
Yeah. Renee Paquette's backstage with Carl Fletcher, and Don Callis talks about Fletcher's biggest win of his career. Don Callis says they destroy Will Ospreay because that's what people do to get ahead in this. They prove what Callis has said all along, that Fletcher's better than Will Ospreay, and they're just getting started. Fletcher said they made it certain that he's better than Ospreay in every single way. Tune into Collision as the Continental Classic belongs to the Proto-Star.
Don Callis has gotten reputation, I think it's earned on balance, certainly in AEW, of someone who just feels like he's got all of that bluster and rhetoric and great ways to promote his talent, but it never feels like he's actually doing anything with it. His double act, but he's better as a manager when he was a commentator, being Kenny Omega's bespoke epic commentator, So that's weird. That must make him not the best manager. Him and Fletcher works in a way that it just absolutely works. I think they complement each other. Like, I think you'd needed all along someone to really buy into Callis's just vile nature and just to be pricks together, because it's always been... Omega seemed half in, half out with him in AEW in terms of like, do I really like? That was a good act for a while. 69 moved on, but ever since like Ospreay being half in, half out, Takeshita not having proper heel energy, maybe he needs the right client, and he's got it. This Ospreay, this Callis Fletcher deal, it worked for me in this backstage.
Let me give you
segment.
the hot tag, Kyle. Yeah, when he handed it was like Hawk. Like, tell him Hawk, wasn't it? Like,
he G's him up, doesn't he? Yeah.
Big grins on their face about being dickheads. Like, I agree. There was good energy in this room.
Yeah.
Like,
bad energy, but good energy. Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing him on Collision. After this, it's story time. Let him go, baby. He didn't say that.
Skip.
He comes out. He's. I'm sat there at this point going, you do know there's a women's match before this main event, don't you? Sick and tired of playing this game with MJF. Keeps ducking him because he's a little bitch. After what he did to Roderick Strong, he swears on his mother he's going to beat Max within an inch of his life. Kyle O'Reilly storms out and says, with all due respect, look, it didn't work out. Let me fight MJF.
Such whiny isn't it?
O'Reilly's going to call out.
Oh, God, I know.
Lame losers.
Undisputed era and the Heroes of Wrestling era.
I hate to see it. They meant something to me.
It's like they've gone to TNA.
Yeah, yes. God damn it, yes.
And I mean, folks, where's the lie?
It's perfect East that one of all time.
Yep.
It appears to me this era of TNA will be undisputedly.
Cole says to O'Reilly, cuts him off, says, what you said last week, I can't let my friends fight my battles for me. I've got to fight MJF. O'Reilly said it's not for Cole, it's for Roddy. MJF's on the screen playing a piano. He declined the challenge from both of them. said I'm more focused on the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal next week for the beautiful Diamond Ring. Let them play it out. He says, let it play out, and I'll play you out, basically. Plays the theme song on the piano. Calder says, I'm going to be in the Battle Royal. Roy says, I'm going to be the second person in the Battle Royal then, and they argue.
I hate this. I am like the Bernie Sanders meme. I am once again asking you to parachute MGF out of this situation, have another rethink outside the Osprey program. This year has not gone well for Max, and this is the second year where it's not gone well. A complete and utter rethink is needed. I don't give a I don't care at all about f***ing undisputed era nostalgia, because one of the reasons, amongst the many, Adam Cole looks like he's finished, for starters, and him calling other people a little bitch. Come on, who do you think you are, Stan Hansen? You know what I mean? Like, you're the bitch. Yeah. I'm sorry, but you look like the bitch right now.
Not Eddie Kingston when he's saying he swears on his mother's eyes when he's saying, oh, no, not swear to God. I swear on my mother. It's that's not you, mate.
Yeah. Adam Cole used to have so much charisma where he could get away with being this lot. How Adam Cole is one of the most short and skinny, mainstream, could be a massive star prospects ever.
Yeah.
And yet he was literally larger than life because that's how much of his charisma powered that act, how cool he felt.
They didn't know they were nerds. The Undisputed Era. I love that.
Even before that, I'm talking about like Ring of Honor, PWG, Cole of like, how, like this guy, he seems like he's at least 3 foot taller than he is when he's like completely locked in. That it's been drained from him, and now he's kind of cosplaying as a guy with confidence and charisma, because he looks like Adam Cole right now. It's not working at all. It's bleak. You can't have Undisputed Era nostalgia, because to get nostalgic for something, by definitionally, it must go away. These people are inextricably linked together forever, and they're the only ones who seem to be caring about each other. It's just, I cannot deal with it. I cannot deal with the idea of, right, okay, I know where this is going to go. And to be fair, cute little detail, this is almost spiderwebby if I would care. Kyle O'Reilly had a little stint in 2022 as a sort of Battle Royale specialist, or at least he's won one.
Yes, yeah.
To have that match against Moxley to then face Tanahashi at the first Forbidden Door. So that's a nice little detail, and they can play that up when he wins, works MGF at Winter is Coming to delay it all to World's End. Like, the plotting's not bad. There's a little bit of detail there, which I don't hate at all. I hate the performance of all of this. And MGF, I'm still fighting for MGF. He needs to get out of that lair pronto. And he needs to, they need to get away from Cole, because he's just, this is a vortex upon a vortex in and of itself. No good can come from MGF and Adam Cole being linked in storylines. They need to blow this thing up. They need to blow it up at Full Gear, but we've got another month of it. MGF suddenly revealing himself to be a master piano player, drinking what can only assume is the finest wine in the supervillain lair with this, like the biggest book you've ever seen. It looks like 3 Ulysses on top of each other, right? It's the most fake, cartoonish thing. Him suddenly being this expert piano player, what does that serve? It feels like someone in a sitcom's got a new job this week, or like it feels so sitcom. It feels like so 90s 3-camera sitcom, and its logic and its character development, and it's just so fake. And I just want to get him in the ring. I got that flash of energy at Full Gear of him, the live performer, who was incredible. If he's shooting a movie, don't have him doing this.
Yeah.
That's gotta be. I don't know what's going on with MJF right now. This needs a complete rethink.
It's semantic field, like murderer in a Columbo episode. It's always that same posh old American villain's lair piano, but they're just going down the list of things that like define who the villain is that we've seen a million times, and it's not really tied or tethered to anything that MJF's done this year elsewhere. This was, and I'm not picking on MJF particularly, or Adam Cole, or Kyle O'Reilly, or for that matter, Taven and Bennett, who were in the ring, and that feels like there was a bit where the commentators like, it looks like Adam Cole's made amends, and I was like, I'd forgot there was a problem, right? Every single big line got an Eric Bischoff scissors response to Sid, as if they had to repeat it again because the fans didn't hear it. Like, watch it back. Every single time somebody was supposed to be delivering something that mattered, whether it was to drive the story on, whether it was to reveal like anger or hatred or frustration or whatever, nothing. This got nothing after nothing after nothing after nothing. Like the Bobby Fish thing, the whatever. It's bleak. It was really bleak.
I've got one more thing on this. I'm sorry. This MJF Lair thing is really... it's a sign of the times that this isn't getting like memed and buried, because I don't think people have got the heart to do it. That's how low interest is across the board. It's one thing to do like, right, okay, do pre-tapes in one day before he goes off to shoot his movies. He's been doing this for ages. How many movies is he shooting? Shooting more movies than I shot loads when I was 14 years old.
Are you shooting me?
Like, but MJF in my head is this spoiled, evil sociopath who comes from old money. Not old money because his family's rich. Not ancient money. when he,
an aristocrat.
When he's an aristocrat living in a Gothic castle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he lives in a really, in my head, he lives in a really plush pad in Long Island. Not a castle.
Yeah.
Trust fund boy.
Yeah, not a castle. So if he's going to do a pre-tape, and they got it right with the massage, right? Can't he live in this, like, shag pad or whatever, with some, like, really gaudy modern art that he thinks is just really sort of, like, artistic, but it's just this pretentious crap.
When you see inside of football, is that?
Yeah.
Joey from Friends when he gets the soap money.
Yes.
I mean, dodgeball, where it's him.
Why is he in LA?
Him grabbing a ball by the horns.
Yeah.
That actually happened.
Why is he in LA?
Yeah.
Is it just like, right, we need something that looks a little bit like, have they said, right, he's in a back lot where there's like, he's on location on a set. Right, okay, I need to pull some strings here. Have you got anywhere that looks like an old set that looks like it could belong to like a villainous mastermind? Because that's the character MJF is. And then they've got some movie gopher running around the back lot looking for something that hasn't been used. So I found a lair. Is that for a villainous mastermind? And it's like, well, I guess.
I was thinking more contemporary opulence, but it'll do, I suppose.
You know what I mean? Maybe that's what's happened. Maybe he's in that back lot. And it's like, oh, God, I'm in a lair, I guess.
And that means he's picking his lane, and that's Hollywood, and like more power to him. He's made no secret of that wanting to be one of his goals, I suppose.
Yeah.
But like, from what you said at the very beginning of this, I don't understand why there's been this need to have him around.
I know.
If he's not around.
It feels like
that's what's weird to me.
Stupid TV viewers are thick. They will forget about MJF if he's not in this story. Just don't do it. Let Adam Cole get really confident again.
Yep.
I know I would complain about it if they did this. Just give him 4 matches on Collision to get ring sharp. Or something. And it's like, I haven't forgot about you, MJF. I'm getting in shape so I can kick your ass. Or something.
Yes.
That isn't this. This Undisputed Era stuff as well as just on top of
That's the worst pile of stuff.
It's almost time for the main event, which means it's time for the checks notes.
Oh, God.
One women's match on this show. Excalibur running through the International Cup, Women's Cup 4-way, taking place at Wrestle Dynasty and the qualifiers for this Women's Cup, semi-finals, etc. Jamie Hayter versus Queen Aminata, basically. They hit each other really hard. There's a big suplex from Hayter to Aminata to take us to commercial. Jamie Hayter?
Oh, God, I think she's great.
Sign.
It was a sign in the crowd.
It wasn't for us.
I don't think it was,
No,
but I liked it anyway.
We'll claim it. They come back from the break and they're slugging it out. They trade some near falls. Aminata blocks a lariat into a snap suplex. There's a charging kick that levels Hayter to the floor. She goes up top. She wants the double stomp, rolls through. Hayter hits a hate breaker, but she went for Hayter aid. Aminata got with a roll up for 2. They exchange pin attempts. Hayter sinks in a choke. Aminata rolls out for 2, but Hayter's up first. Big boot, Hayter aid. 1, 2, 3. Post match, the lights go out. There's a spotlight on the stage. Julia Hart stuff. She doesn't appear, but we all know what they are implying here.
Some of the wrestling here was fantastic. Some of the forearm strikes where you want to sort of see if your own jaw is clicking after it. That knee or shin that Aminata does over the like so you've got Hayter draped between the bottom and middle rope. Or that's after this like knee strike that Aminata does. It feels vile, vicious. Like, you're almost scared to look at Hayter's face afterwards in case, oh, Jesus Christ, like, is anything broken there? And there's some, like, liquid exchanges on the mat, those pinfall reversals, struggling for everything. Like, this is some, like, very close to best in women's class wrestling in the US right now, and very few people cared. And at one point, I don't know if you noticed it, either of you, Hayter goes to the hard camera, and I can't remember her exact wording, but she's fucking wake up, you something like that. Yeah. She's like, love me or something. She was
appealing to like
an actual crowd be like, make noise then.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, it's bad when the wrestlers are like, this is getting so bad that they're bollocking the crowd for not playing along.
There was, Sige, in, the second city, Chicago is known as.
Chicago.
It's not because it's second to New York, despite that's what a lot of people think. It was, in fact, because of the Great Chicago Fire, and they had to rebuild the city from the ground up, and that Chicago we see today is almost like a second city.
A second city?
From Chicago. But, of course, obviously, when it all burnt down, they developed, like, a horrendous rodent problem. I don't know if you can speak on that.
Well, here's the thing, is that, there's a lot of, like, it all got burned down, and the infrastructure just isn't what it is. And, the sanitary conditions obviously aren't great in situations like this. And, like, Chicago is one of the nicest, most metropolitan, high-tech cities ever. But the thing about rats is that they'll survive anything. They'll never go away. And obviously they've made their way into the Quim Thrust Arena. One of them's just got on the merch stand, and this is particularly impressive considering there's one T-shirt on sale. Probably you could hear one rat piss on one T-shirt, which is you could hear the rat piss on can.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Make some noise for this. They're hitting each other really hard. I don't necessarily blame them for this one because Aminata, who she rules. I watched this, and my immediate thought was, give her some character development and some focus and some profile and put her on TV every week and she'll be a star. She's amazing. She's got this really, really sympathetic backstory. Her stuff looks class. She's got, like, the facial expression after that knee to the face was just immense. God, I watched this match and thought I'd happily just watch a women's wrestling AEW TV show. Booked well.
Booked well is key because they've given themselves such an unnecessary task with this Jamie Hayter thing. Like, every week is a further reminder that they basically bodged her comeback.
Because she's never been less over.
Because the work's great, but she's had no stories that have really mattered. She's never been less over. They've taken what was already a massive over character that was like people were just jonesing for a return so much. They have given themselves, again, like these WB comparisons, it's weird because some of the 2019 ones are just the very, very worst faith, and some of them are almost too chillingly apt. And I would say this is an example of it because the amount of times they would needlessly give themselves work to do with a character when the fans are just waiting to love them. And it's like, we're not going to give you that. We're going to make you hate them, or we're going to take them away or whatever. That's what's happened with Jamie Hayter. Like, they've decided to unover her and then rebuild her again. The second Jamie Hayter.
This was the one women's match on the card, which means we have to get to the name of the game before that. The aim of the game, though, Sige.
Fuck you, Tony. Making me do this every single week. The aim of the game is to identify to the hour, minute, and second, the first time you hear the first note for the first entrance theme for the first woman to appear for the only women's match on Dynamite, with the idea being, come on, everyone, you know the pattern by now. It always seems to be in that 1 hour 20, 1 hour 25 minute range. I'm thinking, they're just putting what I'm almost certain they say, the bloody birds, in this conspicuous slot just before the thing you're theoretically most interested in, but not really many before that. The idea being, well, we'll have to put the bloody birds in, otherwise the Wokes will kick off. But don't do it too early because people think there's more birds. No, just one, guys. There's just one. If you put them right before the main event, it's like, birds. But there's a main event coming, and you just have to watch that. And yes, they'll play with the format, but we know what they're doing. It's not a passion project. It's what I put in bold, italics, and I want to underscore it as well. They don't seem to care about women's wrestling, and that's why this game exists. We try and just haul them over the coals for it. You're thinking, right, good. Fine speech, sir. Could you jingleize it? Yeah. Yeah, sure I can. Here's my jingleization of what I perceive to be AEW's cynical thought process about this whole thing, this whole endeavor. Don't worry, guys. When the women come out to play, the main event ain't too far away. That's the aim of the game. And the name of the game is, well, Well, this is ladies' night, and I'm thinking, what a night.
Thanks, as always, to
Sorry, son.
Adam, the Panda Blair himself, Adam Blair, at Adam Wilson 4, get well soon, mate, and Jose Palomares at the Ho 11. The guys who always take care of the
data
for this sort of thing. And I can reveal that the women's match took place 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 29 seconds. My guess was closest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And new Ladies Night Champion for 2024, wrapped up in November. Yours truly. Who's the f***ing man?
What appropriate way to celebrate this specific prize.
Question, do I have to surrender the existing trophy, which I've now been dethroned of?
Ooh.
Or do you get a new one?
Well, I've got one on my desk.
Well, I've ordered my own, so it's not
a two-time champion now. So it's over to Panda Blair to splash out on another one, I assume. Send it over.
Or I'll just give him mine.
Oh, or you can,
You're a two-time champion of what?
Ladies Night.
Has it been good? Has it been 3 years?
3 years, baby. 2022 and 2024. You're 2023 champ.
Look at you.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Mr. Suck Much?
Yeah.
Because I goddamn suck. Because I'm Mr. Suck Much.
Renee Paquette is backstage with Mina Shirakawa. She asked about a heartbreak with Mariah May full gear. Shikara says, look, I knew this day would come. She could do this to Tony Storm. She could do it to me as well. That's the real Mariah May. She's selfish. She has to kill anyone who gets close to her. If that's the real Mariah, then it's time to introduce her to the real Mina. But Mariah May rushes in and smashes a bottle over Shirakawa's head, beats her down with the women's title, says she wants her. And that's what we're getting.
She's Mr. Jones.
she's
My brain is completely polluted.
Fighting Shirakawa at Winter is Coming.
Excellent. That should get over as well. They've really, really, really built this.
Violent, isn't it? This is a violent fooad. I like this. Yeah,
I really liked this whole interview and angle. Like, I don't know what he's cooking, but if this is all RJ's set, you just give him the book.
The I want Mina thing being flipped.
I want Mina.
Because I'm Mr. Mina. Mr. Mina.
Mr. Mina.
It's not just silly songs. Mr. Mina versus Mr. Jeans.
Main event.
I want James. Because
I'm Mr. James.
Mr. James. Oh, God.
We don't do bits there.
Not a bits podcast.
Dumb asses.
Main event, Brody King versus Darby Allin, Continental Classic. Gold League.
Pissing rain yesterday. Gets at High Street. He walks past me going, oh, so much for the summer, eh?
I got him good.
In public.
Come on, mate.
Darby Allin's ribs bandaged. He nearly died, taken out of Death Rider's truck at full gear, of course. But he does offer a handshake to King, who sort of reluctantly accepts. Running sentons from Brody King early on. He's monstering Darby Allin, of course. Darby Allin collapses from the top to the floor after getting chopped as we go to a break. Darby Allin, I don't think, had hit anything at this point. Come back. Darby wants a coffin drop, but his legs get swept out. He's in the tree of woe. There's a corner cannonball from Brody King. He tries for a superplex, but Darby Allin bites his hands on his head. Avalanche code red, gets a 2 count. King rolls to the outside. He gets hit with a Darby Allin dive, of course, and a top rope coffin drop.
Of course.
They go back inside. Brody King catches him in a rear naked choke. Darby Allin rolls through for 2. But
can I just say that near fall kicked my ass? I thought it was excellent.
Yeah. Traps him right back again, though, just Brody. And just as you think, oh, Darby Allin might escape here, he lets him go and hits him with a huge gonzo bomb.
Oh my
God.
God.
Finished so much.
The 1, 2, 3. Claudio looks like he's going to kill Darby Allin, even more with a chair post-match, but Brody stops him. They're fighting next week.
Oh my God.
Getting, like, nice booking of, like, no, I'm the one who kicks his ass. We're career rivals. I'm the one who kicks his ass. They'll have a team sometime.
Makes me feel so good, man.
Yeah. If anyone's going to kick his ass, it's going to be me.
Yeah, I love that. And I really, didn't. It's hard to love anything with the vibe being as it is on TV right now. The last time it felt like that's Dynamite, just the way you remember it, was probably the last 2 Young Bucks matches, actually. So they're great. It's been a while since you've been able to really, really love something on television. I loved Summer Full Gear, the review of which you can still check out. I really, really like this. Just that I love that idea of Brody King, like, almost not considering Darby Allin honourable prey. It's like,
because he's weakened.
I mean? Yeah, he's weakened. Yeah. Like, I love. Like, if anyone's going to be the predator, it's Brody King. I'll take him seriously as that. Love that wrinkle. I love that there's a texture to this relationship and the continuity. It's all fantastic. And the actual action, some of it was like, all right, okay, no, he can't get into this. I saw the idea of feeling Darby was doomed. It's the correct booking that he's doomed. They've thought very carefully about how exactly he should be doomed because he can't really win this tournament because he's going for Moxley. They've considered every little thing here. There's still a lot of thought in this AEW, which makes us feel like... I get pissed off at crowds like this. If you think about what they're trying to do with Darby here and all of the overlapping, dovetailing details, the Darby Allin stuff's quite deft. It is quite deft. And I thought this match was really, really strong. And I just like the idea of, maybe Darby could do it. Maybe he could do it. That's what you meant to think about your baby faces, is it not?
Yeah. It's I wasn't as high on the action, which is unusual for a Darby Allin match.
But that near fall kicked ass.
But the overarching story of these two that then played itself out in the post match is just a bit of me. I love that
story.
Yeah. Like character dynamics and believable ones at that. Like you did fold it into the match with the way that Brody King was almost not hesitant, but just like not feeling like this is what he came to work for. He wanted Darby Allin's energy bar at 100, and he's happy to beat that down to 0, but he almost doesn't want the fair fight half as much, or the unfair fight half as much, and then, standing over him. That's like, that sort of borderline, that for me, when I believe the relationship in pro wrestling in general, and I absolutely believe this one, because what that does is it then immediately sort of folds Brody King into foo-heading with the Death Riders for personal issues, drawing money rather than the soul of AEW. Like, don't come for my favourite guy to beat up, you that's
hang on, sorry.
Bingo!
That is a very special occasion we've hit there. That is, according to my calculations, and I know this one on Twitter, I've completely forgotten their name, I do apologise, who has been keeping track of this, but that's when I'm not here. That marks both Dadley Boyz with over 1,000 swears in 2024.
Our kids are going to be on proper YouTube soon.
Yeah.
They're going to leave YouTube Kids well behind and go on videos where they can see these every day. We're going to tell them not to swear. I love stories like that. And Brody King versus John Moxley in the run-up to Darby versus John Moxley, where it's nothing to do with a flag or a soul or any of that. It's just, how dare you prick. I love it.
They had one sorely disappointing match once upon a time. It was during John Moxley's 2022, where it's like, everything's goat. Everything he touches turns to goat.
That's true.
Oh my God, Brody King in this version of Moxley. And then it was like a 3-star.
The dynamic is exciting, though.
I'll go. I'll watch that match in 2022 thinking if they did 100,000 of these, this is the worst one somehow.
Yeah.
Very excited to see this.
We got better in them.
Yeah, next week. Let us know your thoughts on that and everything on AEW Dynamite in the comment section or on X at WhatCulture WWE. Watch, they can follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflet at
Michael Hamflet.
Follow Michael Sidgwick at
M. Sidgwick.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. And make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. But for now, it's been the Dynamite Review. My thanks to Hamflet, Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you soon.